The Corporation for Public Broadcasting has just announced that it will soon shut down because of the successful Republican-led efforts to defund local PBS and NPR stations across the country. Of course, last week, President Trump signed a law clawing back congressionally approved federal funding for public media and foreign aid as well.
This means the money is officially drying up effective September 30th, and so the nonprofit agency that sent this money out to local stations across the country is shutting down. About 100 staffers losing their jobs. This is a political victory for President Trump because he tried several different ways this year to defund public media, to take out this Corporation for Public Broadcasting. He even tried to fire 3 of the board members, resulting in a lawsuit in federal court. Well, now that lawsuit is moot. It's going away because the entire corporation is going away. The federal funds will stop effective at the end of September because of the rescissions. And there was a recent effort earlier this week in Congress to try to find a new way to try to get money for NPR and PBS. That fell flat as well. There is simply no way the Republicans are going to budget money for NPR and PBS right now due to allegations of bias at those networks. So these local stations will be they're the ones that will suffer, and they're going to suffer in different ways.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to talk about the liberal outrage over the fact that the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the company that funds NPR and PBS, okay, that's how the public funds get funneled into PBS and NPR through this organization. They are shutting down their operations, okay, due to the successful effort by the Republicans to defund PBS and NPR, okay, because they have become outlets for liberal propaganda, right, for Democrat Party propaganda, and therefore they're no longer useful, right? They're basically not useful in the internet era. I mean, we live in 2025. I think most people, okay, including people who live in rural communities, can get access to news. Okay, they can get access to weather. They can get access to what's going on locally. I think rural America is going to be all right, right? I think they're going to be okay without PBS and NPR. But again, this is what the mainstream liberal media, this is what they're boo-hoo-whining and crying about. They're pretending as if they care about the rural communities, right? They care so much about what these areas, what type of news, what type of propaganda they're going to be missing because of the possibility that some of these PBS and NPR stations are going to shut down, period, okay, due to the fact that they're no longer getting public funding. Take a look.
So what happens now to CPB?
Well, the group is arguing that this move will drastically change the landscape of local news stations and TV and radio across the country. And they argue that without federal funding, it will force smaller news stations that serve rural and smaller communities to ultimately shut down. Here's what the CEO of the group, Patricia Harrison, and president had to say. She said, despite the extraordinary efforts of millions of Americans who called, wrote, and petitioned Congress to preserve federal funding for CPB, we now face the difficult reality of closing our operations. Now, it's important to note that President Donald Trump is declaring this a major victory because, as you mentioned, for decades, Republicans have really tried to push to withhold federal funding for public broadcasting. They've argued and accused stations like NPR and PBS of having alleged liberal bias, and they say that federal funding should not be going towards them. But advocates of public broadcasting say that rural communities in particular really rely on public broadcasting to receive their news about the weather, natural disasters, and what's actually happening in their community. Now, Victor, it's also important to note that some local stations across the country really anticipated some of these changes, and on their end, they have looked and actively searched for other avenues of financial support.
We know that there's been some strong reaction from families that rely on that programming for children, but also the news element. So what's been the reaction from journalists?
Well, journalists across the country have really criticized this decision, and especially advocates of public broadcasting say that this move and this decision is ultimately a direct reflection of Congress and their failure to properly invest in informing the American public. And it's just pretty notable just to see everything changing in real time. And that's why there's a lot of local news stations across the country that have tried to anticipate what the reaction or what the changes will be. And on their end, really try to support themselves by finding other avenues of financial support so they didn't have to rely so heavily on federal funding.
Fuck this administration. I just spent a few hours at a state park by my house, and let me tell you something. I get in the car to find out that NPR and PBS are shutting down operations completely. Fuck this dictatorial bullshit orange Cheeto Puff motherfucker. I don't care if I get bananaed for this. This is a fucking dictatorship. What the
If you needed any further confirmation that we are headed towards a full-blown dictatorship, here is your confirmation. As of today, the organization that funds PBS and NPR will be winding down operations because of Trump's executive order that defunded NPR and PBS. NPR and PBS are both nonprofits that provide really critical functions. NPR provides non-biased, accurate information and news, and PBS offers a ton of free educational programs, even free educational TV shows for kids. Obviously, the blueprint for all of this was written in Project 2025, but it doesn't make it any less horrifying. Wake up. We are in bad times.
This one hurts. This feels personal because I was raised on PBS Kids, okay? I know I wasn't the only kid who your parents couldn't afford premium cable, so you had basic cable. PBS Kids got me through summers, got me through nights after school coming home. I would turn on PBS Kids, catch Arthur, Maya and Miguel, Word Girl, Between the Lions, Reading Rainbow. I could go on and on. Cyber Chase, like all those shows raised me. And not only did they raise me, they were promoting literacy amongst youth, okay? They're the reason I can read. Like this. Let this be an indicator that this administration wants y'all kids stupid as shit. They want dumb ass kids. They don't want kids who can critically think, who can analyze things. Like, they want y'all kids stupid. And if I was a parent in this day and age, this would infuriate me. I feel like everyone should be infuriated, but parents especially. This man and his administration, Project 2025, they want y'all kids stupid as shit. Because the uneducated labor force, yes, they can pay lower wages. Because if everyone was, college educated, that's their worst nightmare. And especially the Republicans' worst nightmare, because it's a known fact that college educated people typically vote blue. So, this is a clear indicator to me that fascism is here. It's thriving, unfortunately. And this orange fucking felon, bitch, I'm waiting for it to happen. I just need it to happen.
Yeah. So again, never let liberals convince you that they are liberal, loving, or tolerant, okay? Because clearly they're not. Okay, in this situation, people are upset because the corporation for public broadcasting is shutting down, okay? They're winding down their operations. Now, does that mean that PBS and NPR, are they all going away? No, they're not all going away, okay? I think that things are going to be fine, right? I think things are going to be okay, okay? But, if you listen to mainstream liberal media, it's the end of the world, right? Kids are going to be dumb, even though none of these people were concerned about kids becoming dumb during the pandemic because of Democrat policies like the lockdowns and remote learning. That has definitely dumbed down our kids in this country, okay? And Democrats don't seem to care about that whatsoever. But anyways, we got Bill Nye, the fake science guy, on CNN. He's boo-hoo-whining and crying about this. So let's get into it.
It was based on research. It was based on science. It was based on provable facts. And that's what shaped the Science Guy show and made it so successful. The same is true of Sesame Street. And the same is true of Mr. Rogers and other shows. So what's going on, everybody, is a little bit in the weeds. The administration is trying to use these rules or laws, which were clearly, in my opinion, clearly never intended to be used this way, to derail the will of Congress. And so they're using these, apparently they're planning to use this business of impoundment of funds and this extraordinary new legal theory, pocket rescission. And there's no such thing, they're making it up. And the irony is that the communities that are going to be most affected by curtailing public broadcasting are the rural communities that voted for this administration. And I just, as one example, I have met countless people, that is to say more people than I can count, who came to this country from other parts of the world and tell me that they learned to speak English by watching public broadcasting, by watching my show, by watching Sesame Street. And one of the ideas of this administration, which is nominally quite reasonable, is to make English the official language. Well, if you want people to learn English, you want to have public broadcasting. This is just an ironic mess up on their part. Back to you, Casey.
Yeah. So, first and foremost, I don't think that NPR and PBS going away in some parts of the country, because it's not going to completely go away like these people claim, right? They exaggerate all the time, okay? But some stations that may or may not go away, that is not going to stop anybody from learning English, okay? Also, on top of that, I love how these people, they want to speak up for rural America, but at the same time, Republicans support this. Like, the Republican base, like, supports this, right? They support this overwhelmingly. So, again, I love how these people try to tell people what they want when the people know what they want, and the president and Republicans are doing what the people want, okay? Because if the people didn't want this, they wouldn't be doing it. At least not the way they're doing it right now. So, also on top of that, this dude is claiming that these rescissions that were approved by Congress, okay, these rescissions are basically Congress trying to, I guess, override the will of Congress, because these people were complaining at first when it was done, because they said, no, you have to have an act of Congress. You need legislation in order to do this, not just an executive order. They did the legislation, and now they're complaining about that, saying that that's also not right. So I'm not sure in what situation can Congress decide that, hey, maybe the government should spend less money. Apparently, these liberals believe that the government should just spend money into perpetuity, and any increase in funding for the government should never be taken back, right? We should never reevaluate and say, hey, maybe we should spend less money. That's kind of seems like what they're arguing at this point, right? That's what it seems like to me, because this was done perfectly legally. Bill Nye just doesn't like the fact that it was done, right? Congress did this, right? This wasn't just Trump. This was also an act of Congress, okay? And yeah, I mean, that's why this is happening, okay? It is legal and constitutional.
Sir, one big difference too with public broadcasting and its funding is that the focus is on things like the science, things like what you learn from Sesame Street, and not on, advertisements. I think I was only allowed to watch PBS growing up as a child. I think in no small part because my mom cared a lot about that. She didn't want me to have to think about the latest toy that I wanted to buy, but just to be there and learn things. What does that mean for kids?
Well, so part of the reason the Science Guy show was funded was through this thing called the Children's Television Act, because in the 1980s, back in the 20th century, children's television was becoming an ads for toys, which is, if you're a kid, that's fun. You watch a superhero animated show, and then you can buy a physical object, a doll, a action figure of that superhero. That's fun and cool, but it doesn't have the educational value that people in the early 1990s wanted children's programming to have. And for you historians, there was required, television stations were required to have 3 hours of educational programming a week. 3 hours, oh my goodness, our ability to print money is being stopped, oh my. But that turned out to be to the good, and it led to this, in my day, it led to this collaboration between commercial programming, commercial stations and public broadcasting, but it never would have happened without the influence of public broadcasting. So the plan right now is to cut it $1.1 billion through this new legal theory that I'm sure, I am not a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure it will be shown to be illegal, what they're trying to do. But this all takes time. It takes time and time and time. And when you break stuff, it's much harder to put it back together. Take an example from your life. Have a dinner plate. Breaking a dinner plate just takes a moment Making a dinner plate from scratch requires a factory and centuries of technological development. It's the real deal, everybody. Push back. And you know, something that fascinates me, I don't know how many of your viewers watch the other side, the very conservative media outlets, but they are fascinated with what goes on the mainstream media like this cable news network. So keep up the good work because it will leak through to the other side.
Yeah, I mean, because I like to see how crazy these people are. The type of propaganda they're pushing, which, I mean, this guy right here clearly is a Democrat Party activist. Okay, this is probably why his show shouldn't be shown to people. Okay, because clearly, again, he's an activist at the end of the day. Congress is doing this, right? This was done through Congress. So this defunding is 100% legal. I don't know what this dude is talking about, right? He's trying to pretend as if this is illegal. It's not illegal. The Republicans approved of this. The House and the Senate. The Rescissions Act of 2025. This guy's trying to pretend like this was done in some crazy way. It wasn't, right? Like, do these people actually believe that it is illegal to not spend money, right? For the government to say, hey, we don't want to spend money on stuff anymore? They actually really believe that is illegal? Apparently they do. So what you have here is more liberal tears, people being mad, people upset. But I think it's going to be fine, right? I think that rural America is going to be okay, right? I don't think rural America needs the concerns of CNN and the Democrats and liberals, right? We're only concerned about them when they can use them in order to push their own political agenda. When, again, ultimately, a vast majority of Republican voters or Trump voters agree with this. So, again, I don't think it's going to work. The Republicans are doing exactly what the voters wanted them to do in regards to defunding the liberal propaganda. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.